Alright guys, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all keeping safe. Earlier on today I posted a video as a joke, poking fun at the lack of any response from Massive to the community concerns and news on the next state of the game. Now I formatted the video as if a state of the game had happened, and as usual I was doing my recap video. It appears a lot of people got confused. The thumbnail did say it was a joke, the title said it was a joke, and I think the first 3 seconds of the video as well said it was a joke, but it's possible that I executed the video poorly and people just got confused as a result. So just to be clear in this video, these are the things that I wanted the devs to say today, but they didn't because there was no state of the game, and again we don't have any news on when there will be one. So I hope that makes sense, and with that said, let's begin. So as with every state of the game, I expect it to be Hamish that is the kind of lead. Now what I would like to see is Yannick especially, and I suspect Trick will be involved in the next state of the game because I think a lot of the other developers have kind of moved on. I know Mackenzie has moved on to Rockstar North Games, and I think the whole studio at Massive in general has kind of had a reshuffle with Star Wars now on the horizon. So what I expect to see from the next state of the game is Yannick kind of jumping in straight away on it and apologising for the lack of communication about when the first state of the game of 2021 would go live. I expect there would be some kind of reason. I suspect that they initially planned for it to be released early January, as per the Ubisoft article that followed the last state of the game, but they decided it was best to only bring this live stream when they can answer the concerns raised up by the community following the new Star Wars game they are working on. Because at the end of the day, it wouldn't really make sense for them to come on to stream. I mean, they're probably going to do this, but it would be nice if they came onto stream when they could actually say something and actually address the concerns that were raised by everyone. But ultimately, they're controlled by the higher-ups, they're controlled by Ubisoft, and it's not until Ubisoft give them permission to kind of go live and talk about stuff that they're going to be able to do that. But it would be nice that the next state of the game, which I hope is next week at this point. I would have liked to have been today, but it's probably going to be next week at this point. I hope that when that goes live, they are able to do that. And if they do, I would like them to, well, firstly, I expect them to say that title update 12.1 is not being pushed back. It will be going live February 2nd as per Yannick's initial confirmation in December, and per the dates in-game with the seasons, which says February 2nd as well. That's when Codename Nightmare is due to go live. And of course, T12.1 will have the next gen update, the 4K 60 FPS. It'll have the Codename Nightmare Apparel event, and there'll be some changes to the optimization as well, which we have no idea what's coming with that, but I'll get to that shortly on what I think they should say, I guess. So right out the gate, I expect Yannick to address Year 3, Division 3, that sort of stuff. So what I would like to hear is that in terms of Year 3, they aren't able to go into specifics, which would be fair, but what they can say is they have been working on a Year 3 DLC with the help of Red Storm since Warlords of New York launched back in March. This DLC would go live in March of this year, ending off the Division 2. That's what I'd like to hear from them. That's what I'm expecting, actually. Now, I doubt very much they'll be able to go into the details of the expansion. They probably won't be able to go into that until after Season 4 ends. But this expansion would have PvE elements that would be able to kind of get rid of that itch that we've still got for replayable content. So more content like that, probably at least one more replayable game mode. But also with Red Storm involved, I would like to see them trying to address a lot of the PvP questions raised over the past year, if not longer. And then Red Storm be able to implement some changes and maybe some new additions to the PvP arena to kind of put PvP in a good place towards the end of this game. In terms of the Division 3, I doubt very much they're going to say anything about that. But if they did, this is what I'd like them to say, is that along with various other Ubisoft studios, they've already begun work on the Division 3. Now, what I suspect is that if they have, this would likely be pushed back until kind of 2023. I don't expect them to give any kind of release dates or anything like that, but I'd also like them to probably say, you know, we are working on it, however, we have got Star Wars, we have got Avatar, it's going to take a lot of our manpower. With that said, I believe 10 to 15 Ubisoft studios worked on the Division 2, and it's quite possible that a lot of the other studios get involved and Massive take more of a backseat, with it still being their baby, of course, but taking more of a backseat and kind of offering assistance when possible. I suspect that if they were to talk about the Division 3 in any sense, which I doubt very much, but if they did, and what I'd like to hear is that they can't provide any details yet. We're going to learn more in the future about what's coming with the next installment, and that they've listened to the feedback from the community, from the Division 1 and the Division 2, and as a result, they have so much data and they have so much feedback that they now understand how best to go forward, and that a blend of both games, with snow of course, is probably the best way to approach the Division 3. With that said, there is the argument that having kind of like a story-driven single-player experience might be a better option, and so it's really up to the devs to make that decision. I personally still stick with the looter-shooter. It's my favourite genre of game, so if they were to talk about that, then that's what I'd like them to say. And of course, I wouldn't expect them to say anything more about that, aside from the fact that in terms of story for Year 3, well, I think Season 4 and the ending of Season 4 will be all the information that we need to probably have a good guess of what we can expect from Year 3. And, you know, I've speculated on this channel, a lot of people have speculated about what we could expect from a Year 3 if we're getting one, just based purely on how Season 4 ends. Of course, they would then move on to their priority alerts, Kestrel Manhunt. There's probably going to be a client-side patch for that, so that won't be fixed until T12.1 goes live, which is hopefully, as I said, February 2nd. And then in terms of the optimization costs, well, I think there's quite a few things that they could talk about, that they could probably do here to try and alleviate those issues that have been brought up. So firstly, instead of requiring 4 different material types in order to optimize one piece of gear or weapon, then maybe bringing that down to 3 different types, and bear with me as I go through these. So secondly, instead of having each weapon type as an alloy, like rifle and SMG and etc., then possibly changing this to just one material type, so you just have weapon alloy. This change would also come into effect for gear as well, so gear weaves, so you would have just one material for gear. It would just be called gear weave instead of, you know, masks and chests and all that sort of stuff. And with that change alone, without any other changes being made to materials and how much they cost and drops and stuff, this would drastically increase the viability of optimizing your gear anyway, because instead of having, say, 6 gear weaves to collect, you now have just the one, so you're now going to have 6 times as many materials just from those changes alone. With weapon alloys, there's currently 7, so if they did the same here and it goes down to 1, then you'd have 7 times more materials. Thirdly, faction materials, I think that these would just be removed. Fourth, we got field recon data and shade calibration. In terms of drop quantity, I think field recon data is fine, but shade calibration is a problem, and I expect them to announce a larger quantity drop of those, matching the field recon data. Also, shade calibration is just a pain to get because you're forced to do stuff like projects and stuff that generally people don't want to do. And if there's one thing about this game that's really good, is for the most part you can do whatever you want and get most things. So what I'd expect them to announce is that field recon data shade calibration will drop from every activity completion, whether that be world activities like control points and stuff like that, missions, raids, etc. And this just means that anything you do in the game, you're going to be getting these materials, which are vital to optimization. And just with these changes alone, I think that would be a huge difference. It would be nice for them to maybe talk about reducing some of the costs overall, because I do think they need to reduce the costs of optimizing overall. So an announcement for that would have been great, to talk about that, and also just increasing our stash size for like currencies like ceramics and stuff, increasing those. So instead of having like 1,500, we could have like 5,000, but then also making a slight reduction to how much currency or material, or whatever you want to call it, is required in order to craft a particular optimization alloy or whatever it might be. But that's it, guys. That's what I would hope they would have said today. Obviously, they said nothing, and I know this is a pipe dream because I doubt very, very much that we're going to get anything like this in State of the Game next week. What I suspect we'll get next week from State of the Game is T12.1's coming. These are the details. We'll see you in a week. That's what I expect to hear. I do not expect them to talk about any of Year 3 or the Division 3, and I know it's not going to go down well. I really hope the reason why they've taken their time here to actually bring out a State of the Game, because it was meant to be early January. That's what the Ubisoft article said. I really hope that the reason they haven't done that is because they are actually going to say something, and so they're just obviously having that time to say what they're going to say. But that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully this video wasn't confusing. Until the next one, epic out.